Hi everyone. Today I'm going to be doing the Synastry chart between Nicole Brown Simpson and O.J. Simpson. If you're not familiar with what a Synastry chart is, it's taking two people's date of births, time they were born, where they were born, and plugging them in together to see ultimately where the relationship will end up going. His Nessus, which has to do with abuse, conjuncts her Mercury by 1 degree. It's a personal planet on her part, so he was abusive towards her. His nemesis and an asteroid called Simpson. Simpson, it's a PNA, which means it's a personal named asteroid, and there's also a PNA asteroid called Nicole. I've done charts before where I've used the person's names, and when they pop up and conjunct another person's personal planets or angles, to me, it's a fated relationship. So his nemesis, which has to do with, it's an enemy asteroid, it conjuncts his Simpson asteroid, and it also conjuncts her vertex by 1 degree. Whatever touches your vertex from the other person, you will guarantee receive the energies from either the planet, the star, or the asteroids. So what did she get from him? He became her enemy. Her Dejanira, which is a victim asteroid, conjuncts his Dionysus and Mercury by 3 degrees. Dionysus is an asteroid that has to do with alcohol, like Animal House, picture that scene. It conjuncts his Mercury. So essentially what this means is that she became a victim of him through his drunken escapades, and there was a lot of volatile verbal abuse, and she was a victim of him. In his natal chart, his Apophis and Lucifer conjuncts her PNA, personal name asteroid, Nicole, by 0 degrees. You can't get tighter than that. This is not coincidental. I've seen this before in other people's charts. And like I said before, usually it indicates a fateful encounter or a relationship. Apophis has to do with extreme destruction. And Lucifer is an asteroid that has to do with having a chip on your shoulder. And it conjuncts Nicole. So what will he bring to her? Destruction. He had a chip on his shoulder. Arrogant. Moving along. His Algol fixed star, which is an evil fixed star, conjuncts her sun by 2 degrees. The sun and the moon are the most important parts of a synastry chart. So you really have to pay attention to what conjuncts your luminaries, the sun, the moon, what opposes them or squares them. Those are the challenging aspects. And whatever the aspect indicates from the other planet or star or asteroid, you will receive those energies strongly. And what did he bring to her? Evilness. His Phoenix asteroid squares her moon by 1 degree. The square, like I said, is a challenging aspect, and when there's a square, it happens behind the scenes. Phoenix is a death asteroid. It squares her moon, and that's what he brought to her. It also falls in the 10th house, which the whole world saw the ultimate after effect of this aspect. Now, we got 3 asteroids here conjuncting her Mars, and they are Prey, Adrastea, and Walpurga. Those 3 asteroids holding hands, conjuncting her Mars at 2 degrees, that's tight. And Mars gives extra fire and power to these asteroids. And what these asteroids, the stories they tell, Prey, self-explanatory. She was his prey. Adrastea has to do with abuse. Walpurga has to do with death, chaos, and destruction. Jeez. His Sphinx asteroid conjuncts her IC, 2 degrees. Sphinx is an asteroid that has to do with hidden agendas and evil secrets. And the IC is directly opposes the midheaven. So whatever happens on your IC from the other, your significant other, which it'll mean that it'll happen at home or behind the scenes. And Sphinx, evil secrets. Her Lachesis asteroid, which has to do with death, conjuncts his sun, 0 degrees. So what did he bring to her? Death. Also, his Lachesis also conjuncts her IC, 2 degrees. Lachesis has to do with death. IC is the home, behind the scenes. Where was she killed? At home. His Chiron, which always has to do with pain. 95% of the time of the charts that I've done has to do with pain. It conjuncts her Rest in Peace asteroid and Valentine. So he brought a lot of pain to her through death, and she was supposedly his Valentine. That's at 2 degrees, tight. What else we got? His Sato conjuncts her Lilith, 2 degrees. He was sadistic towards her in the sexual department. Lilith has to do with the sex between 2 people. Now, his Pluto in his natal chart squares his Nessus and Medea. Nessus always has to do with abuse. Always. It conjuncts his Medea, extreme revenge. Squaring his Pluto. Pluto in modern times is the lord of death. Now it conjuncts, his Pluto conjuncts her Uranus, 0 degrees. Planetary, that's, can't get tighter than that. So there was a huge thunder and lightning and explosion. That's what Uranus represents. Unfiltered behavior, just erratic. And, you know, it conjuncts his Pluto, which is squaring his Medea and Nessus. So what did he bring to her? Abuse, the revenge. His Nessus is in the sign of Taurus, and Taurus is an earth sign. So the abuse will be physical. And since it's a square, it's behind the scenes. I think I said that. His Swindle asteroid conjuncts her midheaven, 2 degrees. So the whole world basically saw that he swindled her. And swindle also has to do with cheating. So there you have it. Right on the midheaven, 2 degrees. That's tight. His Ixion asteroid conjuncts her north node by 1 degree. Ixion is, in Greek mythology, Ixion, when he got married, he refused to pay the bride price to his father-in-law. So his father-in-law got the compensation by stealing Ixion's horses because he didn't get the money. And Ixion flipped out about this. He invited the father-in-law over to his house for a banquet, and ultimately what happened is Ixion killed him by burning him on a wood pile. So traditionally, Ixion has to do with murder. Now, his Ixion asteroid conjuncts her north node 1 degree. The north node has to do with the theme of the relationship for you. So whatever conjuncts your north node, you're going to get that. That's going to be ultimately the theme of the relationship. Death. His Diarrest asteroid conjuncts her ascendant 3 degrees. So what happened in this relationship? An arrest. Her Diarrest asteroid conjuncts his IC 3 degrees. So what did she bring to him? An arrest at his home. The IC is behind the scenes, and it has to do with the home life. Well, there you have it. let's talk about the planetary aspects. Her Mercury squares his Pluto. This is a battlefield. A lot of arguments, explosive arguments. Pluto and Mercury. Yeah. Guess who wins? Pluto. Squares are not favorable in a synastry chart. Everyone has them, and that's a challenging part. But you want all of the good stuff to outweigh the challenging parts. And in this case, it obviously doesn't. The squares represent restriction of energies. The energies don't flow freely. They're blocked, and it becomes oppressive ultimately. He was controlling and aggressive and abusive. Her Venus squares his Neptune 1 degree. Venus squaring Neptune always has to do with deception. It could mean disloyalty, cheating, or doing things to the other person behind the scenes that represent disloyalty and deception. His Mars squares her Pluto 4 degrees. The square between these two planets is one of the biggest red flags in the compatibility chart between two people because it represents violence. It's at 4 degrees, so that's really tight with planets. I mean, if I saw a chart where one person's Mars squared the other Pluto at 0 degrees, I would say, pack your bags and move out of the state, because this is explosive and violent behavior. I've seen this happen before, and the chart always plays out. The planets, they don't lie. Neither do the asteroids or stars. I mean, a couple of saints could not handle this aspect. Do you think 2 people would get out of it unharmed? No. Guaranteed no. That's it. And you know what happened there in their relationship. And so just wanted to share that with you. We'll talk again later, and I hope you have a nice day.